Everything changed the moment Amy looked into that horse's eyes. In that single quiet second, you could feel the weight of every emotion Heartland has carried for 19 seasons. Episode 4 doesn't just tell another story. It opens an old wound, brings back forgotten memories, and reminds us that healing never truly ends, it just changes shape. Asterisk Episode 4 of Heartland. Season 19 begins with a kind of silence that only Heartland can deliver. Silence that feels heavy, filled with thoughts that no one dares to speak aloud. The morning light spreads softly across the ranch, painting everything golden. Amy walks out into the open field, her face calm but her eyes filled with something deeper, a storm she's trying to control. The horses move slowly around her, their breath visible in the cool air. There's something about this scene that tells us today will not be easy. It feels like a moment that stands still before everything starts to shift. We see Amy trying to find peace in her work, but every movement shows she's carrying something heavy. The loss, the responsibility, and the quiet pain that comes with growing stronger, it's all there. When she reaches out to the new horse, there's a sense of hesitation. The horse mirrors her feelings, nervous, unsure, holding back trust. That's when we realize this isn't just another training scene. It's a reflection of Amy's own heart, trying to heal, trying to connect again after being hurt too many times. Meanwhile, back at the house, Lou is already up, juggling everything that comes her way. The papers, the calls, the ranch meetings, it's the same chaos she's learned to live with. But even she seems off balance. You can see it in the way she stares out the window for a moment longer than usual, as if she's wondering whether all this responsibility is slowly pushing her away from the people she loves most. The writers don't need to spell it out. The tension sits quietly in the room, waiting for its turn to speak. Then comes Jack, sitting at the breakfast table, reading the paper like he always does. But there's a softness to him today. Small pause before every word, a longer glance at Amy when she walks in. Jack has always been the heart of Heartland, the quiet strength that holds everyone together. Yet even he seems to sense that something is changing. When he says, "Sometimes doing what's right doesn't mean it'll feel easy," it hits deeper than expected. That single line sets the emotional tone for the entire episode. The cinematography captures these early scenes with a slow, lingering rhythm. The camera doesn't rush. It lets you breathe in every detail: the morning fog, the sound of hooves, the faint hum of life on the ranch. It's peaceful but uneasy, like the calm before a storm that everyone knows is coming but no one is ready to face. And this is where Heartland shines. It reminds us that life doesn't fall apart all at once. Sometimes it starts with small cracks, with unspoken words, and moments of silence that say more than dialogue ever could. As the episode moves forward, the quiet energy builds. You can feel that everyone is walking on thin emotional ice. There's love, there's care, but there's also distance in. That distance is what gives episode 4 its power. Because in Heartland, every smile hides a story. Every silence holds a secret, and every sunrise brings both hope and heartbreak. Asterisk, the day feels different at Heartland, as if the wind itself is carrying secrets. What started as a calm morning begins to turn uneasy when emotions start to slip through the cracks everyone tried to hide. Amy, who usually finds peace among the horses, can't seem to find her rhythm. Every time she tries to connect with a new horse, it pulls away, restless and afraid. That fear isn't just in the horse, it's in her too. She's been holding everything together since Ty's absence, pretending that time has healed what it hasn't. But now, the walls she's built around her heart are starting to crumble across the ranch. Lou's voice echoes through the kitchen, sharp but shaky. She's trying to plan a fundraiser for the town, but her mind keeps drifting back to her family. Between calls and deadlines, she catches herself staring at an old photo on the fridge, her and Amy as teenagers, smiling with muddy boots after a long ride. The look in her eyes now is nothing like that photo. It's tired, lonely, and full of guilt. She's realized she's been running the ranch like a business and not a home. And for the first time, that thought truly scares her. Then, Like a storm rolling in, tension fills the air when Lou and Amy finally cross paths in the barn. It starts small, a disagreement about how to handle the new horse, but the words come fast and heavy. Amy's voice cracks with frustration as she says Lou doesn't understand what she's going through. Lou fires back, saying Amy can't keep shutting everyone out. It's not just about the horse anymore. It's about everything they haven't said for months. The grief, the pressure, the loneliness of trying to stay strong for everyone else. Jack steps in quietly. Not to take sides, but to remind them both of what they're forgetting. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. His presence alone softens the air. He tells them you can't fix pain by fighting it. You fix it by facing it together. His words fall heavy, and for a moment, everyone just stands there, silent. Even the horses seem still, listening. That's what makes Heartland so human. It shows that love doesn't always sound gentle. Sometimes it comes through arguments, through tears, through moments that hurt before they heal. Later that evening, Amy walks back into the barn alone. The light is dim, the air smells like rain. She approaches the horse again, slower, this time with a different kind of energy. She's no longer trying to train it. She's just there to listen, to understand. The horse lowers its head, still nervous, but calmer. Amy whispers something we can't hear, and the silence between them feels full, not empty. It's as if they're both saying, "I'm trying." The episode's middle act becomes a mirror of what it means to break down emotionally without giving up. Every character is fighting a quiet battle with her guilt. Amy with her grief, Jack with his fear of watching his family drift apart. Yet even in their tension, there's love. You can feel it in the small things, the way Lou leaves a mug of coffee for Amy the next morning. Or how Jack stays up late fixing a broken gate that Amy was too tired to handle. These gestures are Heartland's heartbeats, real, and deeply human. As the night falls over the ranch, the conflict doesn't end. But there's a sense that something has shifted. The cracks that once divided them have now become the space where light can enter. And just like that, Episode 4 reminds us that healing doesn't come from avoiding pain, it comes from walking straight through it. Together, it happens quietly, the way big moments often do. A truck pulls into the Heartland driveway. Just as the sky begins to fade into that deep orange light that only Alberta evenings can hold, Amy hears the sound first, the crunch of gravel under tires, the soft thud of a door closing, and something in her pauses. She's been through enough to know that silence before emotion hits. When she turns, she sees a familiar face stepping out of the truck. Someone she never thought she'd see again. It's Finn, the man who once carried a small piece of her healing when she needed it most. He's not smiling, not entirely. There's a look in his eyes that says he's been through his own storms. For a moment, the air between them feels like the past returning to ask for answers neither of them are ready to give. Heartland has always been about connection between people, between hearts, between time itself and here. In this simple reunion, every emotion comes rushing back. Amy doesn't move right away. She keeps her hands on the saddle she's been cleaning, pretending to stay busy, but her heart is racing. When Finn finally speaks, his voice is soft, careful. "Heard you were working with a new horse," he says, like he's testing the air. Amy nods, her tone steady but her expression fragile. "Trying to," she answers. Those two words carry the weight of everything she's been holding inside. Their conversation drifts between small talk and silence. But underneath every pause is something deeper in spoken memories, unfinished emotions. The kind of connection that never really disappears even after life pulls two people apart. The new horse in the pen watches them quietly, restless but still. As if it too senses the tension that fills the space. Inside the house, Lou watches from the window. She doesn't interrupt. She just sees her sister standing there face to face with someone from her past. And realizes how much Amy has carried without ever asking for help. For Lou, it's a moment of recognition, a reminder that everyone at Heartland has ghosts they're learning to live with. Later that evening, as the sun slips behind the hills, Amy walks Finn to his truck. They don't say much, but the silence between them isn't cold anymore. Before he leaves, he tells her, "You've done good here, Amy. I just wanted you to know that." She doesn't reply, just nods with a faint smile. When the truck drives away, the camera lingers on her face. She's not crying, but her eyes glisten in the fading light. It's not sadness, it's release. That moment changes everything. Not because Finn returned, but because his presence reminds Amy of who she was before the grief. Before the endless days of pretending to be okay. It reminds her that she's still allowed to feel, to want, to hope. The horse she's been struggling to reach senses the shift too. When she steps back into the barn later, it approaches her slowly, lowering its head toward her hand. For the first time, it trusts Haran for the first time in a long while. Amy trusts herself.
The morning after feels different at Heartland. The light is softer, the air lighter, as if the ranch itself has taken a deep breath after a long night. You can almost feel the weight lift from the fields, from the fences, from the people who live within them. Amy stands by the corral, the same place that once echoed with tension and frustration, but today it feels calm. The new horse, the one that once refused to trust her, now follows her with quiet loyalty. There's no force, no fear, just understanding. It's more than progress. It's healing in motion. Amy doesn't say much. She doesn't need to. The look in her eyes says it all. It's that silent recognition that pain doesn't disappear, it transforms. Every loss she's endured, every tear she's hidden, has brought her to this quiet strength. The horse leans into her touch, and for a brief second, the world seems to pause. That's the kind of moment Heartland is built on, not loud triumphs, but gentle ones. The victories that live in silence, the kind you only notice when you've lived through heartbreak yourself. Inside the house, Lou is making breakfast. The smell of coffee fills the kitchen, warm and familiar. When Amy walks in, there's a short silence, not uncomfortable, just honest. Lou looks up, expecting the same distance as before, but instead, Amy sits down across from her. No speeches, no apologies, just two sisters who finally understand that love isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up anyway. Lou slides a cup of coffee across the table. Amy takes it with a soft smile. It's simple, but in that gesture is forgiveness. Unspoken but real. Jack joins them a few minutes later, carrying that same steady calm he always does. He looks at his girls, the house, the small slice of peace that's settled after days of tension. He doesn't say much, just a quiet, "Looks like things are finding their way back." And that line feels like the perfect summary for the episode. Because Heartland has never been about happy endings. It's about honest ones. It's about families that fall apart and find their way back. Not because life gets easier, but because love refuses to give up. Later that day, Amy returns to the barn, where the golden light filters through the wooden beams. She starts brushing the horse again, humming softly a tune she hasn't sung in years. It's something Ty used to hum when the world felt too heavy. You can see it in her eyes. She's not trying to forget him anymore. She's carrying him forward, letting his memory live in the things she loves. The past isn't gone. It's simply become part of who she is. That's the lesson this episode leaves us with, that love doesn't end with loss. It just changes its shape, finding new ways to stay alive. The closing scene is quiet, almost still. The camera pans out across the Heartland ranch, the sky painted in shades of orange and gold. Horses graze in the distance, Jack walks along the fence line, and Lou waves from the porch. Amy stands in the field, eyes closed, the wind brushing against her face. It's not a grand ending, but it's deeply human. It feels like the ranch itself is whispering, "You made it through." As the screen fades to black, one thought lingers: Heartland isn't just a story about horses or family. It's about finding home again, even after life tries to break you. Episode 4 reminds us that sometimes healing isn't loud. It's quiet mornings, soft forgiveness, and the courage to love again after loss. And that's what makes Heartland timeless. It teaches us that no matter how far we drift, the heart always finds its way home. Every episode of Heartland carries a message, but episode 4 whispers its truth instead of shouting it. It's not about dramatic endings or shocking twists. It's about the quiet, steady moments that teach us what love and strength really mean. The kind of lessons that don't just stay on screen, they follow you long after the credits fade. This episode isn't just another story about life on the ranch. It's about how people learn to live again after life has changed them forever. The first theme that stands out is healing without forgetting. Amy's journey in this episode shows that healing isn't about letting go of the past. It's about learning to live with it. She doesn't erase Ty's memory, she carries it with her softly, like a shadow that no longer hurts. When she finally connects with the new horse, it isn't just about trust between a human and an animal, it's about her trusting herself again. The horse becomes a mirror of her heart, showing that even when life breaks us, there's always something inside still willing to reach out and try again. Then comes family and forgiveness, the heartbeat of Heartland. The tension between Amy and Lou wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about two people who love each other too much to say what they truly feel. The episode reminds us that love isn't perfect. Sometimes it's messy, full of words said too fast and emotions that come out sideways. But true family, the kind Heartland has always shown, finds a way back. When Lou and Amy share that quiet breakfast, it's not just a meal. It's a truce, a moment of peace that says, we're still us, no matter what we've been through. Another thread woven into this episode is the courage to face change. Finn's return stirs emotions Amy thought she'd buried. Yet instead of running from it, she chooses to stand still to face what she feels. That's one of Heartland's oldest and truest lessons. Running doesn't fix the pain. Facing it does. Amy's calm at the end of the episode is the reward for her bravery. She's no longer just surviving, she's living. And then there's the ranch itself. A character without words but full of wisdom. The land, the horses, the sunrise, they all symbolize resilience. No matter how hard the storm hits, the ranch stands. It bends, it creaks, it breaks in small ways, but it never disappears. Just like the people who live there. The quiet beauty of Heartland is how it ties human emotion to nature, the way the wind carries hope, the way the earth forgives, the way every sunrise feels like a second chance. By the end of episode 4, the audience feels something deeper than satisfaction. It's not just about what happened, it's about what it meant. We see that grief can turn into gratitude, that loneliness can soften into peace, and that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. The show reminds us that it's okay to fall apart sometimes. As long as you keep finding your way back to the things that matter, the message lingers quietly. Strength isn't about never breaking, it's about breaking beautifully. Amy's story in this episode becomes a reflection of every person who has ever loved, lost, and learned to start over. Heartland gives that experience a voice without needing to say much at all. It's what makes the series more than just television. It's a lesson in being human. As the music swells in the final moments and the camera drifts over the open fields, the feeling is unmistakable. This isn't just a ranch. It's a home for every heart still learning to heal. Episode 4 leaves us with a truth that's both gentle and powerful. Life doesn't wait for us to be ready. But if we keep moving forward, one breath at a time, we eventually find our way back to the light. Heartland has always had a way of hiding its deepest meanings in the smallest moments. And episode 4 continues that quiet tradition. It's not a story that shouts for attention, it hums softly, asking the audience to look closer, to listen differently. Beneath the everyday scenes of ranch life, there are symbols, gestures, and callbacks that connect this episode to the long history of Heartland. Each one is a thread in a much bigger picture, a reminder that nothing in this world happens by accident. The first hidden gem appears in the barn, the saddle Amy cleans in the opening scene. It's not just any saddle. If you've followed the series for years, you might notice it's the same one Ty used years ago when he first started helping Amy train horses. The camera never zooms in, but the pattern on the leather gives it away. It's a quiet tribute to their shared history, a symbol that Ty's spirit still lingers in the work Amy does. She's not moving on from him, she's carrying his lessons forward. That saddle becomes more than an object. It's a memory that never fades, sitting right there in the heart of the story. Another subtle detail hides in the background of Lou's kitchen scene. On the counter behind her, there's a small vase with wildflowers. They look simple, almost forgettable, until you realize they're the same kind Amy placed on Ty's grave 2 seasons ago. The color palette soft yellows and pale purples isn't chosen at random. It mirrors the show's long-running theme of growth through grief. Flowers that once symbolized goodbye now sit in the center of family life, quietly saying, "We're still blooming." Even the lighting in this episode tells a story. The cinematography shifts between cold and warm tones with purpose. When Amy and Lou argue, the barn is bathed in cool blues and grays, a visual echo of emotional distance. But when they reconcile the next morning over coffee, the light turns golden again. It's as if the ranch itself is responding to their hearts. These subtle visual changes remind us that emotion isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's painted across the screen in colors you feel before you notice, and then there's Finn's return. His truck carries a small decal on the back window, an outline of a mountain range. Longtime fans might recognize it as the same design Ty once had on his old truck. Whether it's a coincidence or a deliberate callback, it connects Finn to Ty in a symbolic way, not as a replacement, but as a reflection of the qualities Ty left behind: kindness, patience, and quiet strength. The writers seem to use that small detail to suggest that healing sometimes arrives in familiar shapes, even if it looks different than before. As the final moments of episode 4 fade into silence, there's a sense that something deeper is still stirring beneath the calm. Heartland has always known how to end an episode quietly but powerfully, just enough peace to make you breathe again, and just enough uncertainty to make you lean forward, waiting for what's next. The ranch feels healed for now, but in Heartland, peace never lasts forever. There's always another test waiting over the horizon. Amy's journey may have reached a fragile balance, but her story isn't done. The return of Finn isn't just a visit from the past, it's the beginning of a new emotional crossroad. His quiet presence in episode 4 was like a spark on dry ground, hinting that old emotions may awaken again and perhaps bring new choices with them. Will Amy allow herself to open her heart again, or will the memory of Ty always hold her back? The next episode might finally begin to answer that question. But knowing Heartland, it won't come easy. Love never does here, it's always tested, shaped, and earned. Lou's path also feels uncertain. Though she found a brief moment of peace with Amy, the pressure of running both the ranch and her mayoral duties still looms large. Episode 5 could explore whether she can truly balance it all, or if the weight of responsibility will finally push her to make a hard decision. The guilt she carries, though softened, still lingers in the quiet glances and restless sighs. Viewers might see Lou questioning what success really means, keeping everything together or allowing herself to let go of something for once. And then there's Jack, the steady heart of Heartland. His calm wisdom in episode 4 gave the family its foundation again, but there's something different in his silence this time. He's watching, listening, holding more worry than he admits. In episode 5, we may see Jack face the truth that the people he loves are growing beyond his reach. His role as protector has always defined him, but what happens when the family no longer needs protecting? The emotional weight of that realization could be the next quiet heartbreak the series explores. Even the horses, often mirrors of human emotion in Heartland, seem to hint at change. The new horse Amy connected with might play a greater role in what's coming, its progress reflecting her own emotional journey. Heartland has a way of weaving symbolism through these animals, turning every nudge, every glance, every gallop across the field into a message. The bond between Amy and that horse might become the emotional thread that carries the next few episodes forward. As for the ranch itself, it stands as it always has, steady, beautiful, unchanging in the middle of everyone's chaos. But episode 4 gave us small signs that things are shifting. A storm in the distance, a broken fence line, a quiet tension in the air. Nature has always mirrored emotion in this show, and the closing scene, Amy standing in the wind, eyes half closed, felt like both an ending and a warning. The storm clouds behind her weren't just weather. They were storytelling. Something is coming. Something that will test the family once again. So what can fans expect from episode 5? Likely a return to conflict, but not the loud kind. It will be emotional, internal, the kind that makes characters face who they really are when life forces them to choose. There may be new beginnings, new faces, and possibly the echo of an old love story taking root in unexpected soil. But most of all, we can expect what Heartland always delivers: truth wrapped in tenderness, because Heartland doesn't rush its stories. It lets them grow, like the fields around the ranch, season by season, heartbreak by heartbreak, until they bloom again. Episode 4 was about finding peace. Episode 5, it seems, will be about keeping it when life starts to pull it apart again. As the music fades and the credits roll, the final feeling left behind isn't sadness, it's anticipation. You know there's more to come, more to feel, more to learn. The past has been faced, the wounds have started to heal, but the horizon still glows with mystery. And that's what makes Heartland timeless. It reminds us that even when one story closes, another is already waiting, somewhere beyond the next sunrise, ready to test the heart once more.